NFL Combine's over and the draft is coming up soon. I know who I'm picking. Helmets Off is on. All right, welcome to another edition of Helmets Off. I'm your host, Scott Mitchell. That's right, the draft is coming up, and it could mean that the fortunes of franchises are about to embark on a 15-year journey to Super Bowls and stardom and fame. You look at a year ago, Baker Mayfield actually started to help the Cleveland Browns turn a corner. Of course, they've had 10 million first picks in the draft, or close anyways. So they got a lot of good talent there right now. But there are players, and there are actually positions in the draft or on a football team that if you get the right guy, it can have an impact like nothing else. And it's really simple why it's that case. And let me give you an example first of the positions and then why it's that way. Quarterback is 1, defensive end is 2, left tackle, and a shutdown corner. Those are kind of the 4 positions that actually have the biggest impact, or one player can have a huge impact on the success of a team. And all of those positions are players that can play 15 years in the NFL, 12, 15, even with the way the rules have changed and the way practices are and the way they don't hit anybody anymore, and that it's actually flag football. Then you have players, they can play 20 years. And so those 4 positions are so impactful. And if you find the right guy, the guy who can be that 15-year solid lockdown player, you really have something. And every NFL team is looking for that guy. The reality is there's not even always one in every draft. There's really good players, don't get me wrong, but like a Hall of Fame type of player, sometimes they come in later rounds. You take a Tom Brady, for example. He wasn't that guy coming into the draft, or you get a guy like Peyton Manning. He's that kind of guy. And so they end up in the same place, but sometimes when they're drafted, it doesn't really matter. I remember my year, which was 1990, John Randall, who ended up in the Hall of Fame, wasn't even drafted, and that was 12 rounds of football. So finding that Hall of Famer, or that just once in a draft, or that really special player, doesn't always happen every single draft. But a lot of times it does. And if you get the right guy and you put him in the right situation, you really have something. And here's why you have something. When you have a player that gets the attention of multiple players on the opposing team, it creates a disadvantage. So if you have a rush end who, you can't block him with just one guy. Think of like Khalil Mack. This is like just a stud guy. Or even in the interior where you have Arnold from the Rams. You can't block that guy with one guy. So now you have to put 2 players, and then that actually gives the defense an advantage. Same thing offensively. If you have an offensive lineman who can just shut down pretty much anyone by himself, then it frees you up to actually go different directions, let running backs go out on routes. They don't have to worry as much about protection. Or if you have that guy that you can always count on him blocking the guy, then you can run, you can do a lot of different things toward that guy. Or if a guy is so athletic, you can move him, you can pull. There's just a lot of things where you can go out on screens. And not every lineman is that way. And so finding those players that really create havoc for the other team are priceless. And then, of course, a quarterback. I mean, you cannot put a value on finding this supposed franchise quarterback, the guy. I just, in my mind, I can't get over Patrick Mahomes. He's a special talent. He's a generational, once in a generational talent. I just don't see a lot of other quarterbacks who are playing right now or who are even in the draft that have his unique capabilities. And what's so unique about him is the ability to throw different types of passes from really multiple angles, or whether he's rolling out right or left, or throwing across. And it's not just throwing them. I mean, any quarterback can throw them, but it's throwing with velocity and accuracy and it opens up the field, and it really creates a challenge for defenses. One, because when you can extend plays, nobody can defend that. And when you can throw across your body or different places on the field, then it even makes the field harder to defend. So if you can find players like this, it's like invaluable. It's so incredible to have that. If I am a GM, if I'm trying to figure out who I'm starting a franchise with, I'm always going to start with a quarterback. Always. The quarterback has the biggest impact on any game, anything that's happening. Period. You touch the ball every single time you have it offensively. And the decisions you make and the ability that you have with the football is impactful like no other position on the field. And when you have a guy that understands the game and can deliver, and a guy that people believe in, you really have something above any other position. It's like, okay, you got a great defensive end, and it's great and all that, but if you don't have that quarterback that can lead your team down the field and win and make tough decisions, good decisions in pressure situations, you got a great defensive end, but you probably don't have a really, a winning team. So obviously the quarterback is the number one priority. But if you can find any one of these four positions, you really have something. And I have to say, and I can't even believe that these words are coming out of my mouth, but I'll tell you who I probably would pick in the draft, and it's probably Kyler Murray. And just with the change in the rules, with his ability to do multiple things, to extend plays, and this is a guy who was pretty spectacular against a lot of teams. He's probably the guy I'm going to pick first in the draft. And it's not just because he's a quarterback, because he's that unique of a talent. And plus, he'd be fun to watch. The change in rules, the change in how everything goes, he fits in today's NFL. I would have never said this even 5 years ago. 10 years, definitely not, but certainly 5 years ago, never would have happened. All right. Helmets Off is now off. You can go, I don't know, I guess draft Kyler Murray now. You can text us at 65537. You can also go on social media at the Helmets Off Podcast on Facebook and at the Helmets Off Show on Twitter. And be smart with that phone of yours, and we'll catch you soon.